A study out earlier this week in the Journal of Pediatrics is still getting a lot of attention. It followed children until they were 6 years old and revealed that most behavioral sleep techniques have no long-lasting effects, good or bad, on the child. As a parent, what do we make of this study? Are these techniques right for everyone? And what about the parents who just can't stand to hear their babies cry? Joining us to sort it all out this morning is Sara Chana, an early childhood development expert who empowers moms from pregnancy through birth and breastfeeding with a focus on natural, holistic ways to care for your family. Thank you so much for being here this morning,
yes.
Sara Chana. And we need to let everybody out there at home know you've had some practice with this because you are a mother of
Seven children.
7 children. Well, I've got 2, so I've had a little bit of practice as well.
And all 7 with different sleep patterns, should I add.
That is so important because not all babies are going to sleep the same way.
Exactly.
So you can't kind of have a blanket approach to everything. So this study, let's talk about the study and set it up. It followed the children until they were 6 years old, and it focused on kind of 2 main types of sleep intervention patterns. It didn't do the crying it out all night method.
Right.
It didn't look at that at all. It focused on, let's see, the controlled crying and the camping out. Could you explain the 2 for people who might not know?
Well, basically, what their hope was not to allow babies to cry it out, but teach babies to self-soothe themselves and be able to put themselves back to sleep. Both of the methods are gentle on the children, but it is encouraging the children to sleep for many hours at night.
Okay, and the camping out is somewhat new to people, so when you kind of wean off.
You're by the child and then you kind of move away when the child starts to fall asleep. You want to make sure that you are leaving before the child falls asleep so the child can learn to fall asleep on their own.
Okay, so those 2 methods, what do you make of this study? They found that there's no long-term effects either way, good or bad. What do you make of it? Is it accurate?
Well, I kind of disagree with just how this study was set up. I understand that the researchers were really trying to make parents feel comfortable if they feel that they need their children to sleep through the night. But I believe that children up until age 1 usually do wake at night. And it seems that across all countries and cultures that babies do tend to wake themselves up. So I think that when they were talking about the depression side, that women can get depressed if they're losing sleep, I think that if women understood and were educated that babies wake up and that they have the ability to comfort and feed their children throughout the night, that there would be less incidences of depression. So I think that women need to be empowered and educated from an early age that this is the way babies have been made.
Right, and not all babies are the same too. You might be a new mom out there and your girlfriend says, well, my baby's sleeping, for 6 hours a night or 8 hours a night, and yours won't sleep for more than a couple. And that's okay, all babies are different.
Right, and I think that if women really understood that babies, especially if they make a wet diaper in the middle of the night. I mean, it's a little bit awkward, I believe, to go over to a baby. That's okay. We'll change your diaper in 4 hours. Just sit there and make peace with it. I think that some babies can handle that, and other babies, especially with tactile or sensitivity issues, are going to say, "Hey, Mom, I cannot sleep with a dirty diaper." So I think that wasn't taken into account. And then when they tested the stress levels of children, it was at age 6. And what I was a little concerned about was that they did the cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone that's released during stress. They chose to test those children when they were age 6 on a day that they either had off of school or a holiday and 2 hours after they woke up. So being a mom as you are,
not a lot of stress at that point.
Not a lot of stress.
Right.
So I think that really the studies needed to show and look at how do the children in the control group and the children that were given these sleep behavior methods, what was their stress coping abilities at age 6? And that wasn't presented in this study.
Long term, I mean, when you're looking at the child at age 6 is one thing, but in the short term, as a mom, if you're able to get a little bit of rest versus being exhausted, there has to be some benefit there.
Absolutely, but I think a lot of it has to do with attitude. I think that these little power naps that a lot of research is coming out on how beneficial it is, I think that if a mother, and a lot depends on whether a mother's breastfeeding or bottle feeding. Formula takes longer to digest, therefore a baby will have a longer sleep pattern, whereas breastfed babies need to eat more often. So if a baby wakes up after 3 hours and the mother feels that she really fed that baby well and got that 3-hour power nap, she'll be invigorated and she'll be excited to see her child again. Whereas if the woman believes that the child should be sleeping for 8 hours and then gets depressed that the child's up after 3 hours and says, oh my gosh, I can never live on 3 hours, I think that's a lot of the problem.
There's definitely a relationship there between
Right.
the two. So the takeaway message for either an expectant mom or a new mom at home who's struggling with this issue would be what?
I would say that understand it's very normal for babies to wake at night. I think that if a mother has trouble coping, I think we have to come up with other ideas. Maybe she needs to hire a night nurse. Maybe she needs to cut down on expenses in one area. Maybe she needs to ask a grandmother. I think we forget to include in our lives these grandmothers that may be thrilled to say, you know what, I'll sleep over, I'll wake up for that 4 o'clock feed, you sleep through the night. So I think that we're not looking and discovering other options that are out there other than telling our children that they must sleep for 8 to 10 hours when that may not be what that child needs to do.
Well, a support system will help
Yes.
empower women out there
Yes,
everywhere. Sara
absolutely.
Chana, thank you so much. You have a website?
Thank you so much. Yes, sarachana.com. That's SARACHANA.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.